Welcome back to week 4 of All Change. If you haven't seen the previous weeks, head to the All Change Facebook page and catch up. Last week we looked at taking responsibility and we heard Sam express his fear of being unable to change.
I actually found it eye-opening. Just some of the stories that I heard. Like one lady I remember, she was a bank teller and she was in a bank robbery, and it's affected to this day. And this was like years and years ago. And another story I remember was, I can't remember her name, but her husband, I believe, got murdered, and that was like 30 years ago. And how she forgives the person who did it and has moved on, and she didn't really have anything against the person who did it. I suppose it would have taken years to get to that point, but there comes a couple of stories I remember real well that stuck in my mind, you know what I mean? So.
11 guys, 5 volunteers, 3 circles of chairs, and 2 hours. It was good to see Tim had rejoined us this week after missing last week. It had the effect of tripling the number of tattoos in the room. We then split into small groups, and it was a chance for the guys to share their own story of their crime. A disclaimer had to be given to the guys for them not to tell us anything about an untried crime. I thought that would be enough to put them off. I was wrong. In my small group was Sam, as well as the ox-like Maori called Charlie. There was a young white athletic guy called Chris, and there was Luke, who you could tell just by looking at him he was a deep thinker. Charlie's story was devastating. He was serving a sentence as a result of killing his best friend through drink driving. Luke's story sounded like it was from a movie. A boy who grew up in orphanages and was abused. He was set up by his stepdads on jobs from a young age. Then we got round to Sam. I asked him if he wanted to share his story. There was about a 5-second pause. I thought I might get a no, but then I saw him look up from the ground with that glazed over look, and I knew he was going to tell his story.
Sam had tried to go to a nightclub, but they refused him entry, so he ended up going to a house party instead. He'd partied hard, and in the morning decided he would drive home while still drunk and high. As he drove, he went past a police car who followed him due to his erratic driving. Sam thought he knew the roads and could evade capture, so he chose to speed off into the night. His intoxicated state caused him to lose control of his vehicle, plowing into 6 cars. Miraculously, he wasn't harmed, but many others were. He decided to run and jumped over the first vehicle. He paused and looked in the first car he had hit. He saw an unconscious man bleeding. He thought he was dead.
Hearing the way Sam told his story, I wondered whether he had really changed at all. Did he care about his victims? We had Mel with us this week. She was here to tell her story.
Before telling my story, I didn't think it was any big thing, but on reflection and that night after sharing my story, that was when it dawned on me that is the absolute first time anyone's given me the time to hear me, and I've actually shared that part of myself. It was an amazing feeling and a sense of relief, that feeling heard, validated, hearing people from inside the prison actually ponder that and reflect on that and actually respond to how I was feeling, and understanding the impacts on me was, I'll never, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it. It never leaves me. I always look back at that moment being quite pivotal in my recovery and my well-being in the entire process.
A couple of questions were taken by Mel, and we started getting up for the end of the session. And then I heard someone say, "Can I ask one more question?" It was Sam. He looked up from the floor and he asked, "What scared you the most?"